not one. No friend like him is so high and holy. No, not one. No, not one. And yet no friend is so meek and lowly. No, not one. No, not one. Jesus knows all about our struggles. He will guide till the day is done. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. No, not one. No, not one. There's not an hour that he is not near us. No, not one. No, not one. No night so dark, but his love can cheer us. No, not one. No, not one. Jesus knows all about our struggles. He will guide till the day is done. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. No, not one. No, not one. Did ever saint find his friend forsake him? No, not one. No, not one. Or sinner find that he could not take him? No, not one. No, not one. Jesus knows all about our struggles. He will guide till the day is done. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. No, not one. No, not one. Was ever gift like the Savior given? No, not one. No, not one. Will he refuse us a hope in heaven? No, not one. No, not one. Jesus knows all about our struggles. He will guide till the day is done. There's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. No, not one. No, not one. And that is so true. Praise God for that truth. We have Brother Marty, if you'll lead us in a word of prayer this morning, please.
My Heavenly Father, my Lord and my God, Father, we give honor, praise, and glory unto you, Father. Father, we thank you, Lord God, Father, for this day, another day, Lord God, another opportunity, Father, to come before thee and worship thee. Hear your word, my Heavenly Father, Lord God, and learn of thy will. We ask, Father God, that you continue to bless us and strengthen us. Continue to convict us, Lord God, Father, in our hearts and minds about sin, Lord God, in our lives, that we may, Lord God, draw nigh to thee, because you said we would, you would draw nigh unto us. So, Father, we give you praise, honor, and glory. In the Son, Christ Jesus' name, we pray.
Amen. Please be seated this morning. This is a message from Brother Wilson Babu, our missionary to India, from his Shalom Children Camp. He's having a Shalom Children Camp in India, and he wants us to pray about it. And I guess he's going to be having this throughout the entire month of June. And as you know, India is a huge subcontinent, and the place where he's at, he has several churches that are under him as well, and he has trained men in his Bible Institute and what have you. And so just keep praying for him and the work there in India. And then this is from the Carpenters Project. This is from Brother John Conrad and Associates, and he goes around the world putting up structures for churches for impoverished congregations. So he wrote, said, Rodney, that's Brother Fitzsimmons, the other missionary, spent 2 weeks last month ministering in 7 churches in the Philippines. There were professions of faith in 2 of the churches. During the 3-day missions conference with many young people in attendance, there were 10 that responded to enroll in Bible school and 8 who surrendered to be foreign missionaries. There's a new church plant in the nation of Myanmar. that used to be called Burma. And he's also ministering over there. And then a final word, while John spends the next several weeks visiting, supporting churches, Rodney will travel to Haiti at the end of this month to minister and coordinate several building projects. Please remember him in your prayers as the situation in Haiti remains extremely volatile. Thank you for being the carpenter's friend. God bless you. All right, thank the Lord for that. And here's another email I received. This says, believe and lead. Believe and lead. It seems like the world today, we're following the people who have no idea what they're talking about. We get advice on buying a home from people who have foreclosed theirs. We get advice on marriage from people who have filed for divorce. We get advice on church building from people who were kicked out of theirs. We also seem to get our newfound definitions from people who don't know truth. We get our standard of a man from a homosexual. We get our standard of a pastor from a woman preacher. We get our standard of a president from a socialist party. We are constantly going to the wrong people for advice and for the questions we have about life. To get the right answers, we need to go to the right source, which is the Bible. God has the answers for everything, and we need to point young people in the right direction so they can have the opportunity to make the right choices. Just because you admire men and prefer to be around men as opposed to women as a teenage boy, and you are a gentle person, does not mean that you were born homosexual. But that's what our public schools are teaching our boys. How much date rape, abuse, and murder takes place because a girl was told the best place to meet men was on the Tinder social app. I'm not even sure what that is, but some kind of social app that's out there. I'm not just talking about lost children, I'm talking about our Christian children in our church youth groups all across our nation. Christian young people are getting their standard of living from social media. So don't you long to redefine our standards? Not redefine, but reset them back to the original. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what a man is. Most of the people in the world, the Hollywood crowd, and the leftist media, and the mayors and governors of our cities have no idea what a man is. Many of our boys don't know because many of them have never seen one. So don't you long to model truth. As a Christian man, I long to be and be with other strong Christian men. I long to show the world what a real man looks like. I long to show the world what a real Christian man looks like, and I long to show the world what a man looks like who is completely yielded to God. If now is not a good time to be filled with the Spirit, when do you think it will be the best time to start? This is from Brother Eric Riles, and so true. I agree with that 100%. All right, have some Sunday school lessons.
They passed out already.
Oh, you ready to pass out the Sunday school lessons? Oh, the problem when you do that is then leave one for me. And so I need to have one back. Huh? Okay, you have the Sunday school lesson? I need to get one back. When you take them out, you got to leave one back here for the teacher. That's the master plan. Then you can make a copy of yours. All right, thank you. So what we're talking about here is intimacy of spirit in dating. Now, I don't know how many of you men are dating. Hopefully, if you're married, you're not dating anybody outside of your spouse. So this is for men who are dating somebody, woman. And if you are married, then you should still date your wife or you should still date your husband if you're a woman. Because just because we're married doesn't mean that the social life, the romantic life comes to an end. As a matter of fact, it's supposed to just get started. So the chief purpose of dating is to achieve spiritual oneness. When this is accomplished, there will be a greater love for God, and new joy in the scriptures, and you desire to tell others about Christ, and a deepening fellowship with other Christians in these areas. So once again, the chief purpose of dating is to achieve spiritual oneness, to get to know each other better in a spiritual way. That's the first thing that we're supposed to be looking for. Now, in developing spiritual oneness, obviously, God has got to be in the midst of the relationship. Now, how many young people do you see go out on a date and God is the furthest thing from their mind? They're not thinking about God or church or praying or anything like that. They're just going out to have a good time. Right? And so God is pretty much kicked to the curb, so to speak, and they're just going to go out, just them, and have a good time. All right, now, the man on your chart there, he is responsible for the spiritual leadership in dating. Who is responsible? The man is responsible. Why is he responsible? Who was made first?
The man is the head.
Who? The man was made first. Adam was made before Eve. Pretty soon you're going to have somebody going to contradict that says, no, the woman was made first. The Bible is in error. Just wait. But no, the man was made first. Right? So he is responsible. When he goes out with a woman, he is responsible for the spiritual leadership in the dating. So if he's a carnal guy, what kind of relationship can you expect to have? A carnal relationship. The woman, she is responsible for being a spiritual example and a challenge to him, which means she's supposed to be a spiritual woman. She's not supposed to be loose, not supposed to be eager to jump into the bed with this guy on the first date and have a sexual relationship with him. All right, not even the second date. All right, she's supposed to have enough conviction and spiritual maturity about her that is not what she's all about. Now, as they both focus on God, right? This is the ideal now. I'm not saying it's the way it works in today's society. We're talking about how it should be. As they focus on God, they draw closer to God. Then, as they draw closer to the Lord, they also come closer together spiritually. Because now they understand some things about one another. Oh, he is a Christian man. He loves God. He believes the Bible. He goes to church. He has a prayer time. He has a relationship with the Lord. He's not all about bling and flash and good looks and fancy cars. He is really about having a down-to-earth relationship, and he is stable. He's believing stability, right? That's what that man says to that woman as he goes out with her. She is saying to him, I'm not some fast gal that you can corner and get into the sack the first or the second date. You're going to have to work on winning my heart and getting me to really appreciate you and then want to be with you in that way. All right. And then, of course, that will lead up to what's the next step there? Marriage. Exactly. It's the marriage, because marriage is honorable in all and the bed undefiled. Hebrews 13:4. A oneness of spirit is accomplished as both seek to get as close as they can to God in their own personal lives. As each one develops his spiritual responsibilities and opportunities, a deepening fellowship exists and a greater ability to communicate with each other develops. All right, so we're talking about intimacy of spirit before we even begin to talk about intimacy of body. So what is the problem with dating in America and most Western nations? People equate that with intimacy of the body, but not intimacy of the spirit. So there's something missing from the get-go. But it takes a spiritual man, spiritual woman to realize this. All right, now, destroying that spiritual oneness. So you have God at the head of everything, but physical intimacy, when that is developed before spiritual intimacy, a cloud of guilt results between each one and the Lord, right? So what do you have here? You have physical intimacy. They're getting close to each other. They're having a sexual relation. They're getting to be living as if they were husband and wife already, but they have not developed that closeness. So it's like they have bypassed elementary school and high school and gone right into college and expect to do well in college without learning all the other subjects that lead up to it. They're not mature enough to handle this. And so since they did not go through the steps to learn about each other, they get together in that physical, intimate way. They think, boy, this is great, but they forget something. They forget that you marry a soul. You marry another soul. Not a pretty face, not a set of legs, not nice hair or nice teeth or nice bone structure. You marry a soul. And they may have all of those things, but the soul is who they really are. That's who you marry. So that person's soul that is inside of them has certain qualities, certain likes and dislikes, certain things that drive that person, that makes that person be who he or she is. And if you don't realize that that person is unique and learn the unique spiritual qualities and tendencies of that person, it doesn't matter if she looks like Miss Universe and you like Charles Atlas, that relationship will fall apart. It will crumble and fall apart because there is an aspect of it that is being neglected. Right? The result then of these two people getting together in this way without first getting to know each other spiritually is guilt. Now they're guilty because they went beyond the boundaries of decency. They ignored all the warning signs. They got together and now they realize, oops, what have we done? I don't even know you. Right? I don't know half the things about you that I should know about you. I don't understand your way of thinking. I don't know your upbringing, your likes or dislikes. All these question marks I have now that could have been answered had they spent more time in courtship. Right? So when you find that lady, when you find that person that you want to be with, it behooves you to find out as much as you possibly can about her before deciding that she is the one for you. Find out as much as you can. I mean, pry, go deep into her past. If she's just 20 years old, there's not much to look into, but she's 40, she's older than that now. You have to really dig in the past. So when the purpose of dating is not to encourage and help the person in his spiritual development, but is rather on the level of physical involvement, a sense of guilt develops and a growing awareness that her desires are contrary to God's desires. See, and that's where the problem comes in. That's where couples begin to fall apart because they realize that what I want is not what God wants. God doesn't want this thing to go on. All right, so they begin to come apart, it seems. This also destroys communication between them. Right? How many times have you heard people get together like this in a physical way, and then within a couple of months, they're not even speaking to each other. As a matter of fact, in some cases, they hate each other. Literally, they hate each other, whereby if you go back, you run the tape back a couple of months, they were lovers. Right? And now they're enemies because they violated this particular standard. All right. So you have any comments about this? Please. Yes, go ahead.
A lot of questions.
Go ahead.
Let me ask this one. The Bible says that he that finds a wife finds a good thing. So a lot of people take that as you are searching, looking for a wife.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the solid marriages that I've seen in the Bible, God brought the woman to the man.
Mm-hmm.
He brought Eve to Adam. He brought Rebecca to Boaz. These are examples. These women that God brought to these men.
Right.
So how do you balance that?
Well, the woman is brought into the sphere of the man so that he can recognize. In the case of Ruth and Boaz,
Right. That's right.
she was brought into his sphere so he recognized that she was there and she was available, and then it was up to him to propose marriage.
That's what I see. Most people take that as the man is out searching. You hear a lot of women say, I ain't looking for no man, you know, or in that sense. Well, it's unbiblical in the sense that they talk anyway. That's the way that I see it, that he's not out searching for a man, a woman, as if you go out looking for a job, but when she is in his,
and sometimes they find a job.
Right, like when she's in his environment,
yeah,
and he's recognized that they come together, then of course he then finds the wife and thing.
Okay. The woman is not to be aggressive in the relationship. She's not to be the aggressor, but she can let it be known that she is available. And there's a difference. Woman lets a man know that she's available and she attracts attention. That is perfectly fine. But to go up to a man, as some do today, and actually push themselves on men, as some do today, that is unbiblical behavior on the part of women. Now, when a man, the Bible says a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife, right? So if it's the man's responsibility to leave his home to find a wife, then obviously when she becomes available, then he needs to get to interact with her and know her before he takes her onto himself, being a wife. So does that answer your question? So it's about getting to know the person in such a way that you have, if you allow me to use this term, you have spiritual intercourse before you have sexual intercourse. It's supposed to be that intimate of a knowledge before you take the next step. Okay? So you should get to know her, folks. Man needs to get to know his prospective wife's family.
and she needs to get to know his family. And then you spend time interacting with each other's family, because that's how you get to know how a person was raised, when you interact with their family. Now, if it's an older person, the other party's parents may have passed, your parents may have passed, but you can still get to know a lot about the other person simply by talking and sharing photos and memories, talking to people that you've known for many years, because that's how you get to know about a person. But this culture that sanctions people getting together in an intimate way after just a few dates, that is totally unbiblical. It's totally unbiblical because of the various things that people have to deal with. They have not dealt with, they have not disclosed things about themselves, and they're not spiritually intimate. They don't have a spiritual intimacy, but they want to have a physical intimacy. Now, that desire for physical intimacy, God placed that in us. We have a desire for physical intimacy, but it must come after the spiritual intimacy has been met. Because if you do not do that, then you go into guilt, and you go into perhaps even hatred. If you get married without getting to know the person, then chances are that marriage ends in divorce in a few years, in some cases even a few months. One of the reasons why I instituted 6 hours minimum of premarital counseling in my ministry, because I was marrying people who had just barely known one another. And I agreed to marry them. And at least 2 of those marriages did not last very long. They lasted maybe 1 year, 2 years. I mean, they were having big time problems from the time the honeymoon ended, perhaps even during their honeymoon period. They're having problems. And the problems was of a spiritual nature, because he is of this direction, she's of that direction. She has this mindset, she has a different mentality about how to approach life. And when you look at life different and you have different goals, it is very, very difficult to have a good relationship. So take the time to talk, to investigate, to find out, what is this person really all about? Is she just a set of legs, hair, teeth, smile, or is there more to this person than that? Is he just muscles and brawn, or is there more to him than that? When I was training my daughters for marriage, I told them, it says, you need to find a husband who loves God more than he loves you. Because if the man loves God, he will love his wife. Not going to be a problem. But if I love you, he loves that girl more than he loves anybody else, including God, look out. Because when the day comes that he gets disappointed in her because she has some flaw, maybe a minor thing, but she is flawed and she is not perfect. He sees something about her that he doesn't like, rubs her the wrong way. She may be hard-headed or stubborn, or she may be selfish, she may be conceited, and he sees that in her, and he said, well, I gave her my heart more than anybody else. Now what are you going to do? Because you already put her above God. You've seen these paintings some of these guys have in their home. They have this picture of this woman, and it's a black woman, right? Very, very voluptuous black woman, and he is kneeling in front of her. He's worshiping this woman. And I've seen this in the home of at least a couple of single guys. And I would say to them, I don't try to tell them up front, because I don't want to be I don't want to come across like I'm prying, but I says, "Well, that's a very interesting picture there. Do you understand what he is doing?" And if he said, "Well, he's admiring the lady," that says he is doing more than that. He's worshiping her. He is worshiping that woman. So she has usurped the place of God in his life. Once you do that, that's idolatry. So what you think is really love is actually a sin against God. Okay? So any comments or questions about this aspect of it? Please understand that this is a very, very touchy subject. And many people today, even Christian people, have problems with this. Okay, yes, go ahead.
I just got a small comment. The world would say that opposite attract.
Right.
The Bible says that how can two walk into an agreement? How can they walk together?
There you go.
So, you know,
There you go.
it's how you live according to what you live in biblical.
There you go. So the Bible is right, of course. If you don't agree on the direction in life, you can't agree on the basic principles of life. How can you be lovers? Well, you can't. You can't even walk with that person. So let's stick with the scripture and not with the culture. Right? Culture, 9 times out of 10 is going to be wrong because the culture is unspiritual. All right, so now let's receive the offering for the Sunday school. And we can go to the second page since we're talking about love. And this is all based upon 1 Corinthians 13, which is the chapter on love. And I usually go over these 15 things with couples when they come in to see me for premarital counseling. This is one of the things that I go over with them. What love is. Love suffereth long. It is slow to lose patience. On the right side, you have the amplification of what that means. Doesn't demonstrate irritations or reflect anger or have a quick temper, has fully accepted the character of the one being dated. All right. This is what love is. Right. It's not a hot-headed type of thing. If you quickly get angry at the one you profess to love, it may not be real love. It is kind. It looks for a way of being constructive. It is actively creative. It is able to recognize needs. It discovers successful methods of improving or contributing to the other's life. So do you want to contribute to the other person's life? Are you able to recognize the other person's needs? Number 3, it does not envy. It is not possessive. It does not hold exclusive control where one is allowed little or no freedom to fulfill himself apart from the one dating him. Now, this is especially true of young people, teenagers. Cases where you have a teenage girl, she's 16 or 17 years old, she has a boyfriend. And the boyfriend is also 16, 17, 18. They're young. But this boyfriend believes that he has exclusive control of this young woman's life. So she can't even go to the mall. She can't go shopping with her friends. She needs to report to him several times a day to tell him what she's doing. All right? So he then begins to have this control over her. And he tells her, baby, I'm doing this because I love you. No, it is not love. It is simply being possessive of the person. If the girl happens to have a friend that gives her something, he becomes envious. God forbid another boy gives her a compliment or gives her a gift, boy, he's ready to fight, right? That is not love, especially since she's not his wife. They're just dating. She does not belong to. How many understand that a woman is not bound to a boyfriend like she is to a husband? You understand? A husband has a different category than a boyfriend. A boyfriend is just that. He is a friend who happens to be a boy, and they go out places, they eat together, they go to ball games together, they go to Disney together, some fun place, canoeing, what have you, but he has no authority over her. He's just a boyfriend. Now, a husband, that's why you got to be very careful. Because when you become a husband, now you do have authority. Now you can say, oh, I don't want you talking to my wife. I don't want you talking to him because I don't trust him. That's different, right? But a boyfriend doesn't have that. If you try to control a woman without actually marrying her, then you're just possessive. And even after you marry her, you still cannot control every aspect of her life. She's got to have freedom to live as a human being. Okay, so some men make that mistake, thinking, well, I'm the husband, I have to have control over every aspect of the woman's life. No, you do not. You've got to trust God that he will lead your wife to do the right thing when you're not around, because what happens when you got to go to work? And if you can't trust your wife for 8, 9, 10 hours while you go to work, then don't marry. Don't get married. You cannot trust that woman to do the right thing. Don't even think of marrying her, because that's going to be a headache for you. All right, number 4 on the sheet, it vaunteth not itself, true love. It is not anxious to impress. Doesn't seek to make an impression or create an image for personal gain. All right, so this is not about showing off. It's what vaunts itself, not about showing off. Number 5, it is not puffed up. Does not cherish inflated ideas of its own importance, which means it is not self-centered. It has ability to change and to accept change. It is flexible. It doesn't allow or expect life to revolve around itself. Because some people are like that. I've seen men and women, and their idea of marriage is, okay, everything revolves around me, around my likes, my wants, my pleasure, and that is not going to work. This is one young lady, she wanted to marry a guy because he was going to Europe, and she wanted to see Europe. That was her dream, all right? But the guy decided, I'm going to get out of the service. I'm not going to go to Europe after all. That shut down the relationship because she was in it, because he was her free plane ticket to see Europe, to go to France, Germany. He decided, no. All right, so this was all about what she wanted. It does not behave itself unseemly, number 6. Has respect for others, which results in a set of Christ-centered standards. Has discretion, knows what is proper and when. All right, that word unseemly means rude. True love is not rude. All right, so let's say you have a daughter, and the guy wants to date your daughter. He comes to the house, and he greets you like, hey, what's up, Pops? Excuse me? Pops, I don't know you from anywhere. You better call me Mr. Smart, at the very least. And you have guys like that. So right away, Daddy's going to tell me he is a disrespectful young man. So I'm going to tell my daughter, I don't think that's the right guy for you. That guy needs to learn manners. Or this actually happened in my family. It was this guy that liked one of my daughters. He was in Bible college somewhere, Midwest. So he was thinking about her, called my house at 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, I think I was maybe out, maybe traveling, doing some other stuff. But my wife took the call, and he did not even identify himself, but proceeded to ask for my daughter by name. Is Angela there? He woke up the wrong woman because she didn't know, who are you asking for Angela at 1 o'clock in the morning? She is asleep, you should be asleep as well. And no, you cannot talk to her. When she told me, I said, you're right. That's not the guy for you. Why is he calling the house at 1 o'clock in the morning and then being disrespectful on top of it? So anyway, that never materialized, praise God. But what I'm talking about, that is a rude person, behaves unseemly. That is not love. All right, love is not rude. It's not impolite. All right. Number 7, does not seek its own. Does not pursue selfish advantage. Does not have primary concern for personal sexual appetites or social status, but concern for the needs of the one being dated and the families involved. Right? So again, love is about the other person. What's in the other person's best interest. And number 8, we're out of time. It is not easily provoked. It is not touchy. It is not hypersensitive or easily hurt. Does not take things too personally. It's not emotionally involved with personal opinions so that to reject ideas, it's reject the one giving them. You understand what that means? If you reject an idea, it doesn't mean you reject the person. Right? You could submit a suggestion to me right now, say, Pastor Paul, why don't you put a Hemi V8 engine into your car? I would say, well, thank you very much. I like powerful engines, but not in that car. That's not a good idea, that car. Right? I rejected the idea, but not the person. The person may have had good intentions, but it's just not what I want to do. All right, so I reject it. But if a person said, well, you rejected my idea, I'm hurt. Now that person is immature. And that person is not ready to display real love. Doesn't review wrongs which have been forgiven. Right? Something is forgiven. You don't bring it back up again. Amen. Right? You already forgave. How can you bring it back to life? You're resurrecting offenses. Can't do that. Right? Doesn't dwell on past evil. Okay, so back in 2000, 1990 something, you stepped on my toes, you ran the bicycle over, but I forgave you. I'm not going to bring that up again in 2019 because it already has been forgiven. Right? And destroys evidence of past mistakes when possible. That's love. You cover up past sins. You don't bring it back. All right, so we're out of time, so we'll stop it here. Let's stand together. $323, so the first and the last, 323, at the cross. On the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alas, and did my Savior bleed, and did my suffering die? Would he devote that sacred head for such a worm as I? At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burden of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day. But drops of grief can ne'er repay the debt of love I owe. Here, Lord, I give myself away, 'tis all that I can do. At the cross, where I first saw the light, and the burden of my heart rolled away. It was there by faith
I received my sight, and now I am happy all the day.
Okay, take a short.
How you doing?